All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. Today was a crazy, crazy day. All right, I think it stresses a couple things that I talk about on just about every single video. All right, earnings are crazy. Earnings are wild. I've seen good earnings bring horrible candles, and I've seen the worst earnings with reverse splits and bad EPS and horrible this, that, and those bring like triple digit like earnings are insane. And Nvidia's earnings today were good. We'll go over that in a little bit, right? Like they beat earnings per share, they beat revenue, they did this, that, and that, and it was all beat, and beat, right? So, I mean, that I don't think is a question. What it really does continue to emphasize is earnings are crazy. And the other thing that I talk about on every video, it's why I make these videos right now too. Like we need regular hours to close. All right, the open is at a really important moment in the market. It for sure is, right? But you need the day to close to truly understand the realities, right? Because pre-market and after hours, it's easy to get hyped and fooled, right? And I don't think that's necessarily what happened here, but yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know what happened today. Today was just craziness. And again, we wait for the day to end and then we attack accordingly, right? So look, the couple things I don't even know where to start. So let's start with just some facts, right? So earnings were good. When we go to the earnings headquarter, this was actually the last thing I looked at. Nvidia did everything they needed to. They beat earnings. They beat earnings per share. Sorry, they beat revenue. Excuse me, I said revenue right there. They beat earnings per share, and it's something I say all EPS are the three most important. Like those are the letters in earnings right there. If you can beat your earnings per share, that's huge, and they actually beat it quite significantly both year over year and quarter over quarter, right? So that was solid. I know I saw a lot of really good quotes about, demand and this, that, and those, right? So they did the job, right? And what they did, I mean, I know open and close, boom. That is what I wanted to talk about. Yesterday, this is the first thing I came to say right there, right? And I start to stress it again a little bit over here, right? And it's important that you wait for the open and close. And you know what? I think I said it on this first one. Look, can't rush in either, right? Like today was a wild day. Today, like we all know Nvidia is like holding the market, right? So like Nvidia, you need it to happen, you need the day to breathe and you need it to go, right? And for sure my expectations were different than this candle brought, but that's the point of the swing trade, right? Like you start to adjust. So we'll talk about what needs to happen for good things to really go down, right? We'll talk about what will happen if bad things happen and where we'll shift eyes. And then the one ticker I actually want to talk about is Walmart. All right. So Walmart is a real solid candle right here. Walmart looks like they just had some earnings. It was actually the last thing I read in the Discord, but it sounds like they're going to move. So when I look up WMT, you can see they're in the New York Stock Exchange, right? They are about to move into the Nasdaq, and I like that because it's a tech thing, and I'll go into my thoughts later. But Walmart, just in case I forget, there's a decent chance that I do. This is at least something I wanted to talk about. There's a good chance it'll come back down to like 105.75. Let's roughly call it that. That's almost perfectly 50% of this and 50% of that, right? It can actually even come back all the way to 104, maybe even arguably is down to 103. I really hope that doesn't happen, right? But this seems solid right here. It looks like we have some real nice little lower indicators right here. When I look at the weekly, this looks like some nice weekly indicators right here, right? Green over red, nice volume. And we're for sure pushing all-time highs, right? And I'm hearing so many more stories that like Walmart is stealing the fancy Target people. I saw something or I read something like a headline or whatever that more US families making 100K plus are shopping at Walmart than they ever have before, right? So like the stigma of Walmart might be gone, and yo, that's a powerful thing if that's actually true right there, right? So I want to flash the markets, and then obviously I'll talk about the markets in parallel to talking about NVIDIA, right? But just like NVIDIA gapped up this morning, so did the NASDAQ, right? Just like the NASDAQ, so did the S&P 500, and for sure, so did the Dow Jones, right? Each of them were down here the day before and all the way up here this morning, right? Clearly, they each came down to the 100 moving. It's wild because again, I was talking about don't lose the 50. We're now down to the 100, right? Like it's actually pretty insane right there, right? The one interesting thing, and again, you can take this however you want it, right? But we actually still haven't technically confirmed the loss of the 50 right here. All right, so this for sure is a green candle that closed over it. That's a doji. That doji don't count right there. You can argue that this is the first candle, yes or no, right? But either way, the next one's green, and that doesn't count. And we actually closed significantly better than 50% right there, right? Today's a scary candle, but today is still the first candle under the 50, right? So if, and I'll be honest, I'm saying that if kind of not very, confident in it, right? But if we can at least get back close to the 50, hey, that would be solid. You do need to get back a lot over it, or at least somewhat green to like not confirm it, right? I think the bare bone not confirm number is gonna be 22,500. It looks like I'm a little closer to 22,550, give or take, right, on the NASDAQ. When we're looking at QQQ, let's just do that and use simpler numbers, right? I'm basically looking for 600, right? Like 600 flat is what's gonna be the goal for tomorrow to at least make me say we haven't confirmed the loss of the 50 yet. It's for sure not gonna be looking good, right? But yeah, we are actually closed under the 100. And that's to some doesn't even matter, right? At this point, you've actually gone below the 50 and now you're actually under the 100, right? So it depends how you want to look at confirmation and go. Like there still hasn't been that like crazy red. The issue really does become if you lose that 100, what's going to happen, right? When you look at the S&P 500, it's that same if you lose the 100, what's going to happen? And obviously with the Dow Jones, hey, we're at least not under it, but they're all right there, right? So NVIDIA, this was crazy. NVIDIA, I did not expect this to happen by any means, right? Like crazy, right? Just crazy. But I think that's why we're living that swing life. That's why we use these moving indicators and this and that, right? So, yeah, a little bit more on the opening thoughts than normal. I'll get into some of the details, but I think I kind of said a decent amount of them, right? But before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? So we'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. I don't really have any lines. Oops. I don't really have too many lines. They're all actually down here, but I do draw horizontal support and resistance lines manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So, look, let's get into it. And my goodness, I said it in the beginning, I'm going to say it one more time. This was a wild shock, all right? When I last was on the Discord, let's come back into here. Let's go back to the present. So it was looking better, but not this bad. Sorry, scrolling too much. My apologies. So, nope, next chart right here. So, right here, yes. When I woke up, it's around 8:30 generally. That's kind of when I get on the computer right here, right? The day had already gapped up and slowly started to creep down, right? We were still green, like we were still nicely above this candle right here, right? I for sure was expecting this thing to at least get back over the 50 moving average if you really want to know the truth, right? So that's an easy thing that I'm not here denying, right? But yeah, I had said I didn't like this candle. That's not the candle I wanted to see, right? We opened up here, but we definitely started to come down. And hey, that's why we have four color candles, right? You have green outline and green filled in, right? You've got red filled in and red outline, right? So the candle started to show that it wasn't as strong as that gap up looked. But yeah, for sure, I did not expect things to drop down, right? Yeah, and really, like I said, from there, I mean, it's no, from there I'll just go to this. So once we lost, once we lost this 50%, oh wow, that was exactly where the candle was. Because in my screenshot, we were still, dun, 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 we were still above that candle right there, right? We were still here in the picture. Once we came to here, it was 50% of this point right here. It was actually the very top of this right here, and that's a nothing doji candle, right? Like that was the 50% line that mattered. Man, the rest did just drop. That green, 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 I'll draw the line, right? Just so you see it. Once that little point went away, it was just green, 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 basically nothing, red, 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 but like nothing till that, right? So that was a tough little line right there to lose. And oh man, for sure I didn't expect that to happen, right? I think one thing I'll at least say is, hey, we're going into a Friday. Fridays generally are a loser day. It hasn't been, I feel like I haven't said that sentence in months because some of the last Fridays have actually been cooking, right? But like historically, that's something I used to say just about every single week on Thursday videos, right? Like Fridays are scary. It is tough. I don't have that much money in the market. I'm telling you, I'm not a super whale or whatever words we want to call it, right? But like if you're a baller, it is tough. And if you're not long and strong, right? It's tough to hold your money in the market on Saturday and Sunday when you can't sell. I know there's a little bit more night trading and 24-hour trading going on, so maybe that's a little more loose than it used to be, right? But like, you know, it's different holding, and that's why Friday becomes a loser day, and maybe that's some of this. But yeah, at the minimum, all three are at or under the 100, and we either must come back to 50% of today, right? So that's basically 22,500 and change on the Nasdaq. That's basically 6,640 on the S&P 500. Dow Jones 30. That's basically 46,200, give or take, right? That's what must happen tomorrow for this bounce. And look, you hear me say it all the time, right? The 100's a strong line, even the 50's a strong line. Like it's tough to lose the 50, right? It's hard to break these up. It should be hard to lose these down, right? But just like I said in the opening thoughts, if we lose the 100, all right, I'm going to delete the line, but like if we lose this blue line, it is green, green, green to red, 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 probably down to here, right? It's almost halfway between the two lines, right? That's what that looks like, right? S&P 500, basically the exact same thing. If we lose this blue line, all I'm really seeing is that it's not as steep, but I'm basically seeing a fall down to like, yeah, here, then probably here, then probably here, then etc. Right? Like these are some bad. I think I like the fact a little bit, like I was just doing it, right? The Dow Jones looks a lot steeper from here to here, right? That's a little bit scarier of a green, like maybe, yeah, no, that's still above it, right? Like maybe there's that a little bit right there, right? But that's kind of the only single one. S&P 500 at least has a little bit more of like a step support point. What do you look like? Kind of the same thing, but because just under here, your next place is basically here. Maybe here, but I really don't think so. I would put it here, right? So if we lose 22,000 on NASDAQ, all right, we're going to come down to 21.5, all right? So that's basically what we're looking for. NASDAQ either 22,005 or NASDAQ 21,005. I think that's basically going to be the 50-50 going into tomorrow. All right. So, yeah, wild stuff, right? For NVIDIA, what this basically needs to do, and look, it's essentially the same 50% comment, right? You need to get back over 50% of today's candle. That will at least get us back over those two moving averages, and it'll actually get us over the Wednesday before earnings candle, right? I think that's kind of the bare minimum, but even that's too low. It really does need to come to like 188. $188 is man, almost my bare bone requirement for Nvidia tomorrow. And I do think if Nvidia does that, it'll follow the rest. Otherwise, this will lose the 100 and those will lose the 100, right? So the one thing to at least say is, look, if these go below the 100, it is that next candle that's going to confirm, right? And you know, the inverses did do well today, right? We actually got a solid 7% on SQQQ. SH at least doesn't look that good, right? But like that's a nice candle, and again, it's the same. Like these are the inverses, right? So if those lose, S Dow is the other one. If those lose the 100, these will break the 100, right? So crazy day, crazy day. And again, Nvidia, good reminder of two good rules. Don't get overexcited in after hours and pre-market. Yo, I'm a human. I'm greedy. Sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes you see it and it's hard to not get excited. It's regular hours is stress for a reason, right? The other thing is just, man, your earnings are crazy. Earnings are crazy. Good brings bad candles. Bad brings good candles. It's insane, right? So 50% candle is basically the goal for tomorrow. All right. With that, look, I at least want to flash Walmart. I'll chapter it different right here. So Walmart is arguably in an interesting place because Walmart historically has been, you know, recession resistant. Wow, that was way too hard to say, right? Like Walmart tends to be, hey, if things are bad in the economy, Walmart's going to do well, right? It's a little bit above the Dollar Tree or Dollar General, Family Dollar, et cetera, right? That actually might still be true, right? Because they still kind of live and promote these everyday low prices and this and that, right? But the narrative on Walmart has shifted, all right? I'm reading more and more, and it's funny because it's more about why Target's doing bad than it is, you know, good headlines about Walmart. But Target is losing customers and they're losing them to Walmart, right? Like Target used to be Target, right? Like my wife, girlfriend at the time, right? Not that I remember, like she used to just love walking through Target, right? Like she would buy some dumb things in that 135 section. She would walk around. She liked the home like Target really was a very real thing, and there were people that you would walk in and walk out, not quite Costco numbers. It's not like you walk in and spend hundreds at the Costco unknowingly, right? But yeah, a $40-$60 burn at Target used to be real, right? Those people are shopping at Walmart now. And, you know, maybe not all of them, maybe some of them are at Amazon or whatever, right? But like Walmart is stealing better customers. The other thing I read, and this one for real shocked me, more 100K plus individuals or families are shopping at Walmart. What used to be the step above the Dollar Trees, the dollar stores or whatever, right, is starting to actually become the affluent shopper destination, right? And like that's such a wild thing to say about Walmart, right? But hey, things change quickly, right? We used to have Chernobyl fears of nuclear energy. Now we're watching it, you know, power quantum, right? So narratives change quickly, right? The other thing that I actually had no idea about, it sounds like, and I'm assuming that this was announced in the earnings, right? I didn't listen to it, but actually, give me a second. Is it in earnings headquarters? Let's see if I can flash some stuff. Walmart, beautiful. Earnings per share was up. I like it. Revenue was up. Ooh, their guidance. I'm not a big fan of adjusting the guidance, but hey, there's still at least a possibility that's above. I don't know. Maybe they're just focusing on that because they wanted both numbers to be above. I really don't know. The one comment was that they're changing their listing to the NASDAQ. And I like that because the one thing I do know is Walmart has been aggressive against Amazon. Walmart wants to be seen as the like .com destination, just like Amazon, basically is, right? So, um, Walmart, I think, is worth eyes when you look at the lower indicators. That's a nice. It's not quite positive yet, but green over red with a nice 70 RSI. Today was a big volume day too. Actually, it was a good big one in the last what 2 years actually. So I think we're overall the moving averages. These are good indicators down here on the weekly. Walmart's worth eyes, and again, arguably, if things go bad in economy, hey, Walmart still actually might do well. And this thing's not that far from pushing all-time highs and just going right there, right? So keep this one in your back pocket, all right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.